Hello everyone, today we'll be talking about hostile architecture, to be exact, Hong Kong's hostile architecture.
Most people don't know what hostile architecture is, but don't fret. We will tell you everything about what it is and how it affects society.
We'll also display and analyze different perspectives from both experts and from students on this issue.
So without further ado, let's begin.
Okay, so what is hostile architecture?
According to CNN, hostile architecture is a form of urban design that aims to prevent people from lingering in public spaces. For example, this is hostile architecture, and this is also hostile architecture.
Not all hostile architecture is this obvious, though. A lot of it goes unnoticed in people's daily lives. For example, the lack of seats in public areas or the uncomfortable designs of facilities are also a subtle form of hostile architecture, as they create an unwelcoming environment for passersby.
This is an important design in Hong Kong, so much so that an entire social media campaign has been created to address it.
The Missing Seats campaign aims to point out the lack of welcoming public architecture in Hong Kong. Proof taking photos of the absence of seats, the campaign highlights the impact that hostile architecture has on community atmosphere.
In an ideal world, hostile architecture wouldn't exist at all. However, public space in Hong Kong is often designed from the perspective of those managing properties and spaces, whose priority is to maintain a sanitized environment. This creates a rigid urban design rather than an inclusive and user-friendly public landscape.
Although some believe that it is there to maintain public order and hygiene, some claim that hostile architecture is specifically aimed towards getting rid of homeless people. Others say that the hostile architecture is simply the result of poor design consideration.
Of course, like most things, there are benefits and disadvantages.
That is correct. Hostile architecture can deter homeless people, thus keeping public place clean and tidy. It also deters vandalizing acts such as skating.
We believe that the side effects of hostile architecture is much more significant, as it is a very ill representation of society, and as civilians, we should provide support to the homeless, not hide them or put them away.
But how do people actually feel about this?
To find out about how hostile architecture is seen at YCIS, we sent a survey to Year 10.
According to the results, out of the 28 respondents, only around 65% of them were aware of the issue of hostile architecture at all.
In fact, out of those who are aware, most students, around 50%, have only ever heard a little bit about hostile architecture, and many students, almost 30%, know nothing about it.
However, when asked about their opinions on hostile architecture, we can see that 54% of YCIS students disagree with the intentions of such designs.
But this survey only shows the opinion of a small part of society. To find out more, we interviewed an expert in Hong Kong for a national perspective.
Paul Zimmerman is the CEO of Designing Hong Kong. He is a politician and advocate for architecture in public spaces.
As he was a politician and advocate for architecture in public spaces, we decided to interview him from a different perspective and for more information.
The public space should be for the public and should be for the public to enjoy. And I think that, especially in a high-density city like Hong Kong, if you want to enable people to walk, you have to make sure that they can sit. For the anti-seating, the anti-resting.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Well, I think it's high. That anti. If you look at bus stops, we have no seats at our bus stops. Most if you go any other place, there's seats at the bus stop. Now, government can say, yeah, because we don't have a lot of space on our road. Two, they could say, well, because such a high frequency, unlike in Europe where you may have to wait 20 minutes. Here you don't have to wait 20 minutes, so there's less of a need for it. But it means you can see it everywhere that we don't cater very much for the fact that most people are using public transport to move around, and thus they are walking a lot to get to the transport or get from the transport to their destination. And I think the city has to be more caring for the fact that everybody is getting older and people need more rest and places. So we need to design and put in lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of places where people just can sit. We have in the city, we have kind of different attitudes towards this. I think we'll have to get better on our public furniture and our shopping malls and so on to be more inclusive and make more space for people. We have to be careful by saying that we're not addressing the homeless. So yes, I mean, when you look at under the highways, there's a lot of these areas where we've really put in anti-homeless facilities. If you go online, there's a lot of people talking about homeless because that's probably because the term hostile architecture is very much kind of like a US-centric concept. And in the US, in a city like San Francisco, you have a lot of homeless people that, kind of like there's a whole history to that. And so the city's inundated with homeless people. And so they're using architecture to really kind of like keep places free of the homeless. And other places where they don't do it, the homeless will congregate, or they will put their stuff and they make their place to sleep and so on. So they have that constant battle between where the homeless are and where the homeless are not, because they have so many of them. In Hong Kong, we don't have that many homeless. To me, hostile architecture in Hong Kong isn't so much the homeless. If we think it's only homeless, we're forgetting that our hostile architecture is much broader than that. It's not just about the rocks under the highway. It's about no seats in the shopping malls. It's about no seats in the streets. It's about all of that.
Although Zimmerman believes that hostile architecture in Hong Kong is not specifically targeted towards the homeless, he admits that in other developed countries with high poverty rates, more extreme forms of hostile architecture are used to control the homeless and youth rebel population.
Regarding these extreme designs, there are many other perspectives from the people all over the world. James Ferzer, an architect, expressed that not only does it look unattractive and aggressive, it shows the selfish nature of society and its thoughts on the environment.
While Dean Harvey, a politician, has stated that it can provide a solution, prevent drug drops, minimize the amount of time people spend in an area, with a perched or sloped surface, people can't loiter for too long.
This is the end of our video. Hopefully after watching this you'll have a better insight of what is happening with hostile architecture in our society, the effects of it, and how people feel about it.
More importantly, we hope that you have developed your own perspective on whether this kind of architecture should be allowed. Thank you for watching.